Hey everybody, Happy New Year. Hope you had a good set of holidays there with Christmas and the New Year's. Sorry we couldn't do last Wednesday just because of the travel issues that were going on across the country, but we're back and everything's back to normal. So go ahead and ask questions. You can unmute yourself, type in, anything goes.
And go ahead, Sahajaz and Deborah.
Hey, Sahajananda.
Hi, Greg. I hope you're settled in after all your travel.
Yeah, we got home about 3 or 4 hours ago. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. It's about me, and
Okay.
I got vertigo yesterday,
Okay.
and that developed into dizziness and
Yeah.
nausea, which I now have had all day, and I can't get rid of it. I've tried a few oils.
What did you try? I'm curious.
Chakaroo cleanser, hyssop.
And the hyssop didn't work?
No, I mean, this is like, no, it doesn't. I mean, I just keep going. If I sit up, I get dizzy, and then I get nauseous. And if I lie down, I sort of, everything stops, so I'm just sort of been back and forth. I haven't drank anything. I mean, I've only had water today, so I'm not trying to put any oils and stuff.
And no presence of fever or anything like that?
Not that I can tell.
What about a stiff neck? Do you have a stiff neck, sore neck, anything like that?
I know I have a really tight neck because my friend worked on it today, and she was helping to drain some of the lymph because it was so congested. So, that felt great, and yet still continued through the day. I can't really move around very much.
Okay, so this is like, usually hyssop will knock that out, but when it doesn't, something's up, because we look at vertigo as being an inner ear issue, but we also need to look at like the chain reaction. And there's those two rope muscles that come down from behind your ear, and one attaches to the clavicle and one attaches to like the upper part of your breastbone. And when those tighten up, they pass over a thing called the carotid sinus, and it affects circulation to the brain, which then affects oxygen. But because of the tension, it actually will throw off the inner ear. So a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, there could be crystals in the ear, like little crystalline deposits," and they give you like this exercise, and the exercise basically loosens up the sternocleidomastoid. And so the issue is that those muscles are tight, which will think of it like this: the sternocleidomastoid, it's not just that it's a tight muscle, is that when it starts to develop trigger points, it causes either referred pain, or it causes like neurological disturbances, like it throws off how the body works. And when there's those two muscles get real tight, not only is it compressing the circulation to the brain, but it's also throwing off how part of the nervous system and the sensory nerves and autonomic nervous system are all functioning, which manifest as a disturbance in the inner ear. And so it's not just a circulation issue, it's also that it actually causes this disturbance. And so usually if hyssop doesn't knock that out, because the reason we're using hyssop is deepen the breath, loosen up those muscles, loosen up the diaphragm, all those things, it usually will knock it out. But if it's not, then we got to step it up a notch. We continue to inhale hyssop, the goal being to relax the neck muscles and the diaphragm. But I would augment with a couple of things. Do you have any form of rosemary at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so rotate the inhalations with the hyssop with rosemary. And the reason why you're using rosemary is still an antispasmodic, but the reason that we're using rosemary is it's also a cephalic. And a cephalic means that it's moving blood to the head. And if you're getting more blood to the head, you're getting more oxygen to the brain. And so that should start to offset some of that. Then the other thing is, do you happen to have anise or anise, however you want to say it? Do you have any?
I think I have it in some little bottle somewhere from a
Yeah,
cork.
that's
Yeah.
probably good enough to take the little bottle and like tap it 3 or 4 times in some water, like get a good like probably 3 or 4 drops and drink it. And if it's those little tiny bottles, like I do put like a few drops of jojoba in there, just so that like if people put it on their skin, it doesn't irritate the skin or anything like that. But it's almost all essential oil, so it should be good enough. So if you get 2 or 3 drops, it's like the equivalent of getting like 2 drops or so. And so I tap it good like 3 or 4 times, get some in there and take that. Then I'd put some things on your neck, just to further relax some of the neck muscles. You could use vetiver, you could use marjoram, basil, anything that's antispasmodic.
Okay.
I mean,
I did use some vetiver on the back of my neck just
yeah,
before you call, because I remembered, vetiver might help. So
yeah, and the neck is probably more the issue than anything else, than the diaphragm and everything. And I mean, it's a common thing. Like when I was treating whiplashes all the time, vertigo and dizziness were very, very common, because of the neck injury. And so anytime the neck gets compromised, that's always a potential. And so I would unwind that. But if it doesn't resolve, like if you do that tonight, if it doesn't resolve by morning, email us. Because then we just need to step it up, because it's not something that it needs to accumulate. You should literally start feeling results within an hour or two, like within, even if it's like, well, we'll do this and then we'll go to sleep. So the other issue is, are you having other aches and pains in your body, anything like that?
not really. I'm just pretty
Okay.
nauseous. The nausea is the other thing.
The nausea, you could also the anise might knock that out. If it doesn't, let that lay for maybe about an hour. And then if the nausea still hasn't diminished after ingesting the anise, then 2 or 3 drops of tarragon, follow that. And the tarragon should knock out the nausea. I mean, it's part of what's happening, like why you're having nausea is there like a disturbance in the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, which can then start to cause like nausea. In the extreme would cause vomiting, a little bit of diarrhea. But in the stages of nausea, you might get a little bit of where your stomach feels a little upset or a little queasy or something like that. And again, it's all still based on the neck and the base of the skull. The vagus nerve comes out of the medulla, the base of the skull, and then goes down into the heart and the lungs and then down in the digestive tract, but it's tied to parasympathetic activity. And when it gets a disturbance or loses some tone, or like the neck gets tight and compresses, like any of these things start to happen, it causes like a weird series of events that don't seem like they're connected. But if you look at what the vagus nerve or the autonomic nervous system does, you can kind of trace it to that. And so it's not like normal symptoms. You almost have to look at it as like some neurological symptoms. And it doesn't mean like a condition or a syndrome. It's just, honestly, it's just like that nerve starts to lose tone. And then it just causes this like cascading effect. And as soon as you bring tone back to it, all that stuff just goes away. In the extreme situation, sometimes we have to look at, there's a possibility of a potassium deficiency. But are you having like excessive thirst or anything like that?
Well, I haven't been able to keep much down, so I have some thirst, but not excessive.
Okay. but it's not like you need water like you need air. Like
No,
it's not like I need, right? Yeah, if that's the case, it's just because you haven't been able to keep anything down.
Yeah,
And so let's do that. And even like by later tonight, like right before you go to bed, shoot us an email and let us know how that's doing. And again in the morning. And it should be resolved by morning. If not, we'll do some stronger like different evaluations and see what it is. But it's like that's usually what's gonna knock it out. I mean,
okay,
honestly, usually the hyssop will knock it out, but that it's not, you start to look at probably that nerve is lacking tone. And so the tarragon is very toning to that. And we talked about different oils that you could use for your neck. If you have it, let's have you use marjoram, just
Yeah.
because super good antispasmodic, and it also very toning to the vagus nerve. So you're kind of getting two things for one application. So I would just hit it with all of that. Like I would
And-
just keep inhaling the hyssop, rotate it with rosemary, and any kind of rosemary will work for this.
okay,
And so hit it with the rosemary, put marjoram on the neck, take anise internally, and then after about an hour, I'd probably just follow it with tarragon. Like
okay,
I would just do it just because you haven't been feeling good for a day or two or whatever
Right.
it's been. And so let's just knock all of that out and then move forward from that.
okay. I do have one more piece which I forgot about, which is that I've recently been diagnosed with osteoporosis, and there's some literature. I've been reading some stuff online about how the osteoporosis can cause the dizziness and the neck stuff because of the compressed vertebrae. And I don't know if that figures in.
Yeah, I mean that is possible. Like, but even with all of that, that's all still treatable with everything that we just talked
Okay.
about. Yeah,
Okay.
so even if that's the case, like do we know how progressed is the osteoporosis?
It's not as good as it was 4 years ago. It's like, I can't remember the numbers, but they're getting pretty low.
Okay.
Or,
So let's knock this one out, and then we can start putting the thing in play for the osteoporosis. The thing with the osteoporosis is we want to support the bone density, but we also want to look at why the bone density is changing, and a lot of times that is hormonal. And so we'll let's get this like normalized, and then after that we'll go through and put you on a regimen for normalizing the endocrine function, and then things to do for, I mean, I can talk about it now if you want, but I don't want
Well,
to
you've
overload
already
you.
given me some stuff for the osteoporosis, the Vitex on my temples, Bible
Right.
Leaf on my wrists, and Solomon Seal capsules.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
was, what we had talked about a few weeks ago.
I would stick with all of that, and yeah, so we have you on that Solomon Seal. I mean, the only thing that I would say, let's maybe let that ride for a little bit and see. But the only other thing that we might add to that is using like 3 wise men or frankincense and myrrh together, just to jumpstart like all the glands.
Uh-huh.
Like the Vitex and the Bible Leaf are very specific to some of the female hormones, but like sometimes I like to do that and then treat the overall system at the same time. And let's just see how you respond to this. And then on top of that, like, I don't like to always have to have like a big pile of stuff for somebody to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you
And
mean.
so, yeah, so like I try to always like, let's try to do this as minimally as possible, but it might be, the thing with frankincense and myrrh, like it really does jumpstart the endocrine system. And um, I do it for myself, just, as the body gets older, the glands don't quite work like they used to. And
Mhm.
so I take a pretty hefty dosage of that on a daily basis. And I notice I have a little bit more energy, I have a little bit more get up and go in my step. I'm not like, like when somebody says something to you, like, hey, could you get up and maybe do this? And I'm like, I need all the information before I get up. Like, because you just don't have the energy to get up.
Right.
And frankincense and myrrh doesn't really it's not a stimulant like cinnamon or rosemary or thyme, but like taking it on a regular basis, all of a sudden I notice I'm getting up without thinking about what how long is this going to be, or like you know what I mean, like you don't have that weird fatigue feeling. And I noticed that even like the aches and pains don't quite hurt quite as much. And that's not necessarily just the endocrine component, but those combinations also hit um, inflammation and some of the pain receptors in the brain, and it just makes your body feel a little bit better. It makes it feel good. And so it might be something that we augment later, but let's get the dizziness out, the vertigo out. You're already on a regiment, and we'll adjust it accordingly here shortly.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I really appreciate it.
And then go ahead, Deborah, then Robert.
Hey, Deborah.
Hey, Craig. Boy,
Yeah.
you guys are real troopers if you've only been home for 3 hours and you're hosting this. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I had a couple of questions,
Mhm.
and some of them don't have anything to do with each other. Just
That's okay.
so Ralph had brought up about too strong, being careful not to have multiple strong oils together, that they will override each other or compete. And I don't really
Yeah.
I understand the concept, but does that mean like if you're taking cinnamon internally, you shouldn't put pepper on your body? Is it that kind of thing that you shouldn't?
No, it's not pepper. No, it's like more when you're blending things. Like
Okay.
yeah, and there's only a handful of oils that kind of fall in this category. It wasn't pepper, it was peppermint.
Oh,
And so cinnamon and pepper actually go quite well together. Cinnamon and peppermint, you could use them, but I wouldn't put them in the same blend. We were talking about blending, and I think if I remember right, his question, he was asking about geranium or something like that, and we're talking about like what do we use it for, and on the flip side, geranium is actually very adaptable. So like whatever you put geranium in, it kind of takes on some of the qualities of some of the other oils. And then I flipped it and I said the thing about there's oils that are very dominant, and peppermint, cinnamon, some of the really hot, strong forms of thyme, tea tree, there's another one, savory's in there. And so like they're very dominant, like they don't get along well with others. Like they don't get along with other dominant oils, like you could say. Like cinnamon and savory get along okay, but putting cinnamon and peppermint, they'll fight each other. Like it's a weird thing to say, but they're at odds with each other in the blend. They will neutralize the blend, but using them topically, internally, whatever, you're fine with that. It was more about blending.
okay. So, and then in the newsletter, the latest one, you have terebinth in there, and I found it interesting that it dries out mucus, but it also then treats dry eyes, which are kind of opposing things. You're adding secretion, but you're taking out secretion. And I,
Think of it more as like a regulator, like
okay,
it kind of can regulate, especially because the dry eyes, dry mouth is actually part of an autoimmune response. Like you might not have an autoimmune disorder, but it is the immunity is like turning on the body somewhat. And so terebinth is actually very good for helping to reduce that response in the body, which then helps to moisten the eyes and the mouth, not because it's moisturizing, but it's calming the immune system down so that the immune system doesn't actually attack the mucous membranes. And so it does that very well. But then also, if there's a lot of mucus within especially the respiratory tract, it will diminish and dry out the mucus. And so even though they seem kind of similar, the mechanisms behind them are a little bit different. And it's more about the mechanism than it is about the symptom. And so calming down the autoimmune response, like if you don't have dry eyes, it's not going to do anything for your eyes. You know what I mean? It's just all it's doing is regulating that potential. And even with that, it's not like super crazy strong for that. Like if you really wanted to offset the dry eyes, dry mouth, Shazandra is probably your best bet. And then using cinnamon inhaled over a period of time will help to stimulate the processes in the body that would help to moisten it. But when it's starting to be like kind of chronic dry eyes and everything, that is a little bit of not just allergies, but can be a little bit of an autoimmune issue. And so the terebinth helps to regulate it, basically.
okay.
Mhm. And it feels good on the body too. Like, you know, like if your body gets like stiff or, you know, not necessarily arthritic, but, you know, like sometimes you just, I don't know, you maybe slept wrong or different, or you did a little exercise and you're all stiff for a day or two or something. Like a nice terebinth bath, man, it just takes a lot of that stiffness out of the body. You could use that for your cycling stuff.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Well, it said detoxifies fascia was one of the things listed, and
Yeah.
I've started a treatment where I'm having someone massage my like entire body to release stuff out of the fascia. So,
Mhm.
would you take that? That would be neat on the body, like before he works.
You could
on
do
me?
it in a massage oil. You could do it in a liniment. I would do it probably in a salt bath. Like I
Okay.
would put like 15, 20 drops and soak in a bath and then call it good. I mean, you can put it neat on areas that, you know, maybe you're a little concerned about, you know, with cycling, knees, hamstrings, low back area, you know, all that stuff is good. And then also like the neck. All that stuff gets hit with that. But even, you know, how like you're in your position with your handlebars for long periods of time, you know, you start to get stiffness in the wrist, the hand, the thumb, the elbow, even the neck and shoulder up in there. Like, you know, I'd hit all your spots.
So
It's
basically,
it's not quite like an antispasmodic like how marjoram would be or like vetiver. But because of what it does to the fascia, it does take some stiffness out of the joints because it does detoxify. Like when you say it detoxifies the fascia, you could also say, like in a way, it's like it detoxifies the joint capsule, like a bit. And so not a lot of things do that, for one. And two, it usually there's other things going on. It usually is not something where it's like, oh, just this did it. But you know, in the old days, doing a rub with terebinth, like in a soap or an alcohol, like a liniment, like on the body, was a way to offset some of the stiffness that just happens as you get older, or you start to have a little bit of arthritic issues or something like that. And I know, like when I was early on doing things with oils, like this was probably back in the late 80s, maybe. I used to go to an acupuncturist, and he used to like order like big things of, like, I'd make him a liniment with really strong, like high levels of terebinth in it. And I would always ask him, do you want other things in it? He's like, nope, just the terebinth. And like after he would pull the needles out, he would rub everybody down, like, whatever areas he treated, he would always rub it down with that liniment, just to detoxify the tissue and any stiffness or anything that comes from the treatment. And man, he loved it. And so yeah, you can use it with other things, but I mean, terebinth stands on its own. It's just with all the oils that we talk about, terebinth is just quietly doing what it does. You know what I mean? It's not a big like standout, but like when you really need the terebinth, like for the mucus or for the stiffness or the joints or something like that, it's a rock star. It's just it's just quietly playing bass over on the dark side of the stage, just being very quiet. It does what it does without making a big thing about it. It doesn't even really have a super strong scent. There's a scent there, but it's not like over the top strong. And so,
Well, I'm tired of hurting everywhere and not being able to ride because I hurt so much. So
yeah.
I jumped in totally with this massage that's special for the fascia. And then
What kind of body work is it?
well, he just went all over my entire body, just massaging. And it's supposed to be specifically for fascia. So I've had one, and then I go again this week. But I did feel some changes, and it was kind of one of that. The tension in my body. So I'm working with a lot of things. It's not just the psoas issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of my life issues that have just built up in my body.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's working on that. And then I saw an acupuncturist today, and he was like saying the same thing. Your body is super tense. So I'm hoping that the two of these combined together will help give me a jump start, so I can start riding again and just feeling good.
Yeah.
Then I also I have osteoporosis. I've been prescribed medication for it, and I'm still dragging my heels on taking it. It's in my the head of the femur. You mentioned just now about the Vitex and the Bible leaf and Sullivan seal.
Yeah, Sullivan seal is an herb that you'd have to go on Amazon to get. Get it in capsule, not in a tincture, and then take 3 capsules, probably, I mean, at least once a day, if not twice a day.
Okay, twice a day.
Yeah.
But then you mentioned something about the 3 wise men and frankincense.
Yeah, so like that can also be a thing. And the issue with osteoporosis, and like even like you said, like your body's not feeling good, is there's 3 systems that I always like look at and evaluate. Well, really you could say 4, but the 3 that always are the make sure they're okay is immune system, nervous system, and endocrine system. And usually the endocrine system is last on the list of like things to look at. And just as you get older, it just doesn't quite function like it should. You don't produce as many hormones like you normally would. Just things start to diminish, and so you could say like the youthfulness that we have would be our ability to reduce inflammation as we age, our ability to keep the nervous system from going down weird rabbit holes, and like keeping the vagus nerve healthy, keeping certain things like healthy with the nervous system. And the inflammatory response is tied more to the immune system, but then having all the glands function better than they were, all of that slows down the aging process, makes you feel better, makes you a little bit more lively. Like it's just, it starts to be more a little bit about like quality of life and things like that. So the combination of frankincense and myrrh, good for, it's not a pain reliever, but it is good for pain syndromes. It's good for inflammatory syndromes. It does, the myrrh hits the opioid receptors in the brain and is very calming and soothing to the limbic system. Frankincense hits the precursors that eventually turn into inflammation. So, you kind of are getting a 1-2 punch there. And then the combination is very fortifying and stimulating to the endocrine system. And the endocrine system has to do with a lot of like how you feel overall, but also some of your mental faculties, like some of your mental processes are endocrine function passing through like the brain or how it communicates with the nervous system. And so if the endocrine system isn't very strong, then it kind of throws off like mental processes a little bit. Like you just don't quite cognitively process things a little bit, which means you kind of go into a little bit more of like automatic behavior, automatic thinking, like reactive thinking, And so by doing it, you're not really treating brain fatigue per se, but you are improving the quality of how you feel and how you are able to interact with the environment. But it does clear the mind up a bit. Like clear up the mind, that's probably not the best way to say it. Clear up the mind. Like it strengthens the mind, if that makes sense. It just makes you be able to process more information quickly, or I'm not doing that justice. Process. Not quickly, but it just, like when somebody presents you with a situation or a problem and you're just like, okay, I got to think this out. And then there's times where you're like, oh, God, I don't even have the juice to think this out. I don't know. Like, like you almost like you don't have the juice in your legs, but for your mind.
Yeah.
It's not so much about speed. It's just like, I don't have the juice to go through these steps.
Yes.
Like the frankincense and myrrh gives you the juice to go, okay, I can think this out. Might not be faster or whatever, but I can sit and think it out without like just going, oh, forget it, just do whatever. And so frankincense and myrrh have spiritual components too. I mean, they help with cerebral spinal fluid circulation. I mean, they do so many things together, and it's a very simple blend, but it's very potent. And if you take it daily for a period of time, you'll notice like I am feeling better and I'm getting up and doing stuff more than what I used to, where you're just like, every time I got to get up, I just, some of that can be hormonal. And it could be a excessive amounts of stress, of cortisol, of all kinds of things that impact the body. And the frankincense and myrrh just helps to offset that. The reason that the 3 wise men give it to Christ is, when he's born, is for a body to handle a great soul, it puts the body through a tremendous amount of stress, like a tremendous amount of stress levels that we don't even comprehend. And so part of that gift was so that the body could be tempered faster to handle the energy of a great soul. And so we can take a lesson from that, like, it's to offset the stress, it's to make sure that the glands are working, it's making sure that the inflammation is reduced, it's stimulating cerebral spinal fluid circulation, and all those things. Those three systems right there are very, very important. And being able to keep the body in an adaptive state sometimes takes a little bit of work. And the frankincense and myrrh together is very much a very strong tool for that process. Be it that it's stress from normal everyday life or a spiritual practice or high meditations, they feel good mentally and emotionally, but they're a little bit hard on the body. They're hard on the body. It is what it is. It breaks the body down. It makes the body not always respond well. Because if you think about it, those deep states of meditation to the body feel like the dying process. So the body then goes into red alert. We got to double down to protect the body so that the body stays alive. And so sometimes those deep states are great, and then a little bit later the body goes into a little bit of like a response. And so that's why even using the plants the way that we do, it's considered an accelerated process, because you're having those deep states and you're tempering the body's response very, very quickly. So you move through things much quicker than you would just through normal everyday life.
Okay. And is that the frankincense myrrh, is that one that you can take internally?
Yeah. I would say if for that, it needs to be internal. Yeah. So the 3 wise men is the thing that I use, but I mean, you could just do equal amounts of frankincense and myrrh, and that would be good too.
Okay, so 3 wise men that's what it is.
Frankincense, 3 wise men is like half a dozen types or even more maybe of frankincense, and then a couple different kinds of myrrh. So
Okay.
yeah, it's like frankincense supreme and myrrh supreme meet, and create another blend.
All right. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Robert, then Denise.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Greg, welcome back.
Hey, happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So the newsletter Terebinth seems to be a big hit because there's questions all around about what was in there. So one of the items you said that Terebinth complements the use of lovage to purify the soft tissue.
Mm-hmm.
How would we do that?
You could do like you could do the lovage, like the lovage body tonic, and then you could do like Terebinth salt baths. Sometimes what I do, like a lot of times by the time I get the lovage on, it feels so good, I usually don't do a whole lot more than that. But like if I'm feeling especially toxic, it happens sometimes. I'll either do salt bath with Terebinth, because the lovage is like your best bet, but
Right.
Terebinth is right there with it. And so I either do a salt bath or I do it like in a lotion or massage oil or something. If I don't have that made and I'm feeling a little lazy, like say it's late at night, I just take it and put it on neat in my hot spots and call it good.
Okay.
Like after the lovage body tonic.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried like trying to augment, like putting them together, and they work good together, but I find that I'm always happier that when I use them separately. Like, you know, that's the things, like sometimes putting things together doesn't always make it stronger. Like sometimes it does make it weaker. And so sometimes using something and then, you know, letting it dry and then putting the other thing on is stronger than if you mixed them together.
Okay, so I use Lovage Body Tonic almost every day, and so
Yeah.
does my wife.
Yeah,
And
you
I
and me
saw
both.
this and said, "Oh, how does this work? What do I need to do?" So that was one question, and I like that answer. The next one, you talked about mixing it with helichrysum as a powerful free radical blend.
Yes.
Is that a natural blend, or is it two separate oils in that case?
I was just quoting something out of my notes. I don't know that I've made it into a thing to put out there for you guys, but that's something that we could put out. You could just do it like in, I'm trying to remember if that was equal amounts. It was actually 3 parts helichrysum to 2 parts terebinth, I think is what my note said. And then, you know, you mix it up and then you would take a few drops internally. I mean, you could use it topically too, but like if you're really going after free radicals and cleaning up the body and everything, I would probably do it internal, you know.
Okay.
Just helichrysum by itself is also amazing for that. But there are combinations. I think we even have a thing called free radical, but I don't think I put terebinth in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I could look that up real quick.
Yeah, we do have a blend called free radicals.
Yeah, I think there is, but I can't remember what I put in it.
Okay.
Yeah, some of these formulas are very old, and I don't, you know, once I got them down, I didn't really revisit them.
So that also answered the next question, which came from the Facebook Q&A group. Can terebinth be taken internally?
Yeah.
Obviously it can.
Yeah.
Pretty much standard 2 drops.
Yeah, two drops is good. Like, you know, terebinth probably works better for most things topically or inhaled, but for the free radical component, I would do that internal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
you know what, like what terebinth is like in the vitamin and like herbal realms, like if you go to the health food store, it's pycnogenol, you know, like how they take the pine bark for the free radicals and things like there was pycnogenol and grape seed extracts, not the grapefruit, but the grape seed extract. Those are very similar in properties, but terebinth is the essential oil version of the pine bark extract, the pycnogenol.
okay.
Yeah.
So
It was a thing like probably 25 years ago. It's still around, but you know, like everything is like, oh, this is the newest, greatest, most amazing thing. And then, you know, a season goes by and then it floats away. Pine bark had its moment back about 25 years ago. And so it's still around, but, you know, people don't really use it very much anymore.
Okay. And then one more question out of the Facebook group. Someone asked, there was a pattern in an old class called problem solving pattern to be used with mugwort. And she asked if it could be posted. And
yeah, I'll have to get with Letty on that one. I don't know like how listed is that.
Yeah, Letty said it was used in an old prosperity class. She named it problem solving, but she thinks that's the only time it was used.
Yeah, we'll get it posted, and yeah, I'll talk with Letty and we'll get it up there.
Okay.
I don't remember what it is. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. You know, problem solving also, a more potent form of that is the materialization breath. Like if you do the materialization breath, that is problem solving. I think back then, like if it was in the first class, We were just kind of unveiling the materialization breath for the first time in that class. And so a lot of times I don't want to overwhelm people. So I give like alternative like patterns. The problem solving thing that I would give for advanced students would be the materialization breath.
Okay, great. I'll post
Yeah.
that in the
Yeah.
Facebook group.
Yeah. And then different oils would do different things, but like, yeah. We are going to do materialization here in a little bit tonight. I just thought we've been doing immunity for a while for the practice session. And tonight I thought it's the beginning of the new year. People set goals and things for the year. So we're going to do a little bit of materialization tonight, actually.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Denise. Then
Hey, Denise.
Oh, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I've had a wonderful email from you guys. It's just as I had left a hearing. There was pretty disappointing. Okay, we're looking now at maybe late February, early March. And I had actually a different program from this. It was pretty disappointing.
you're cutting in and out. I just,
Yeah,
there's a lot of movement. We can't really catch everything.
Or not.
Nope, we can't hear you at all now.
How about if I try back on my phone? I'll try back on my phone. Okay.
Yeah, whenever you can, we'll get you back in here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then go ahead, Kathy, and then Laura.
Hi there. Happy New
Hey.
Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. I'm checking for a friend of mine who was plowed over by a horse,
Oh,
and she's in her mid-70s. Her shoulder was broken, and either dislocated the arm. It's a mess. Now,
yeah.
yeah, and so the swelling is one of the issues. She needs to get that down. She's in a location where there's a lockdown because of the weather,
Okay.
and they don't have any specialist in the hospital in her area. So she's 3 days with this extreme pain. She needs to be in a sling.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, she has a bunch of oils, and I'm just trying to find out what she can use to help until she can get this taken care of.
So I would say there's 4 things that like I'm going to throw out there. So first off, just to help manage the pain, I would do internally either galbanum or myrrh. And like 2 or 3 drops. Like the galbanum, you could probably get away with putting it on the wrist, but the myrrh needs to be internal, and it could be either or. It doesn't need to be both of them, but one of them I would do probably 2 to 3 times a day internally, and it will take the edge off the pain, which even if we go, well, I'm not really in that much pain, I'm uncomfortable, but it takes this like weird tension out of the body that is just because of the injury or the pain and everything.
But
Then-
she has the myrrh, but
Okay.
there's no male, and so it's a tiny bit that I had sent her a while back.
Okay.
So can she do inhalations at least? Because I don't think it's much.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing.
Right,
and,
right.
and so if like just have her inhale it as much as she can throughout the day.
Okay.
And what about does she happen to have like black cumin at all or anything like that?
I think she's got some marjoram. I think I can't remember exactly what I gave her, but I gave her like about 40 different oils.
Okay.
So
Black cumin would be ideal for something like that. It would reduce the inflammation and help the body shift into a little bit more of a healing mode.
mhm.
If not that, then something else anti-inflammatory. Even if it's just like frankincense or
Yeah, I think I
or,
sent that to her.
Okay, have her take some frankincense, but see if she has black cumin. Like black cumin would be better. And then something like helichrysum topically on that,
I
just
sent her that.
okay, just to reduce bruising and pain and reduce some of the inflammation and help unwind the injury site itself. And then she could rotate that with the marjoram. Like the marjoram is always good for like the spasms, the tension, and like with it being dislocated, like the circulation down her arm is like if it was really dislocated, it's like, you know, it's like a partial dislocation versus a full dislocation. The circulation down the arm is an issue, and that's even the swelling, is the venous flow back to the heart is compromised. And you know, keeping everything as loose as possible is good for that. I mean, I try to do that. I don't want to throw too many things at her, but like if she could just do those, it would make her a lot more comfortable until she
Yeah.
could get to the doctor. Yeah.
And can you get a feel for anything right now with her? Because I mean, she's locked down. There's no traffic going out around where she's living. Town is shut down.
So the horse, give me an idea, like the horse kind of ran over her or like knocked her
Yes,
to the
knocked her
ground?
down. Yeah, knocked her to the
And
ground.
which arm got dislocated?
Oh, heck. That's that. Her left shoulder.
Left. Okay.
Uh-huh. Her left shoulder was broken. Also, her left upper arm.
So, and she knows it's broken because
They did an X-ray.
okay, so she's seen a doctor. She just hasn't seen like an orthopedic guy yet.
She saw the doctor, and then they didn't have any specialists, so they sent her home, and we're trying to arrange stuff, and then the
Gotcha.
snow, and it got locked down.
Yeah.
So she could use a little energetic work from everybody, guys, by the way. So
Okay.
it's a bad
So
situation.
did they put her on pain meds or what did they do?
They
for
gave her some pain meds, but that's just not doing a whole lot for
Yeah.
her.
I mean, with something like this, you want to kind of like go a little bit old school because you're like you
Mhm.
said, you're dealing with limited resources. Have her cut her carbs down quite substantially and increase the amount of protein that she's taking. Don't do this for a long period of time, but it will act as a like kind of a little bit of a weird anti-inflammatory. It's a little bit hard on the kidneys, but for a couple of weeks, it could be fine.
Okay.
The carbs would contribute to the inflammation. And so, you know, for the most times we don't ever talk about this stuff because we put things in place that are much more substantial. And so it's just like, yeah, you know, it starts to be too many things to do. But like here, when you're dealing with limited resources, you start doing whatever you can. And
This is pioneer survival right now. She's out,
right.
way out.
And she needs to increase her water intake.
Okay. Yeah.
Make sure she's getting like push the fluids, like she needs plenty of fluids. Doesn't need to be excessive, but she needs to constantly, like the drinking will keep the lymphatic movement happening and will take a little bit of the edge off the pain.
Right. Now, I was wondering about parsley for her out of the spice cabinet. I mean, stuff like that.
Not going to do
No.
enough.
Okay.
Yeah, not going to do enough.
Some teas.
Some teas. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, let's see what she has as far as what we've talked about
Mhm,
and the water and everything, and then let's go from there.
okay.
Yeah, where is she at, by the way?
She's out in Wyoming.
Wyoming. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, yeah, let's just see what this does for her, and then we'll kind of go from there. Yeah. Maybe like interact with her and then email us in about a day and let us know
Okay.
how some of this was working. And
All right.
we'll try to augment the best that we can.
All righty. And on myself, I wanted to mention that the first person who talked, and I'm sorry, I didn't see the name, didn't have my glasses on.
Mhm.
I have had the exact same symptoms that
Mhm.
she had with the nausea and the
Mhm.
dizziness. And I used the marjoram, and my neck is considerably just in the app.
Oh, good.
It was real
Good, good.
stiff. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was the source of
Yeah,
mine, I guess.
yeah. Well, most dizziness and vertigo is usually the neck.
Mhm,
Almost always the neck.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Denise, again.
Hey, Denise.
I'll try to get my hand down in a second.
Oh, I got your
okay.
hand. You're good.
Oh, thank you, Sam. Okay, well, when I got your guys' wonderful email, I had just come out of the hearing and it was pretty disappointing. So it was a little bit harder, disappointing weekend. But today I can honestly feel like that cold is sort of going, but emotionally I feel very, very fragile. I was so shaky and like tearful.
Okay.
So anyways, I was hoping you could pick up on that for me, like what I could do for that.
Try doing tarragon right off the bat. Just long, slow, deep breaths of tarragon, and I'd even put a couple drops in water and drink it. And anytime you're dealing with something, I mean, for one, it's emotionally upsetting, but also it sounds like it wasn't expected, so it's a little bit of a shock.
Yes, it was.
The like when you start to look at shock, it starts to be a disturbance in the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, and it's like the tarragon calms it all down and kind of tones the parasympathetic function, and so it because of that it calms like the emotional responses down, and so I mean you can sit and inhale it all a whole bunch, but I would still probably put a couple drops in water and do that, and then I mean sometimes that might be all that you need, but if you wanted to follow it up with something, let me just think about this for a second.
If you could, because I don't have tarragon, but I can order
You
it this
don't.
evening. That was one reason I was
Let's
kind of
figure
calling.
out something that you have with you. Do you happen to have benzoin?
No, not that
Any
one.
sort of rose? Do you have any sort of rose?
No rose, no benzoin.
Let's see, what else could we use? Like shock could be. You happen to have neroli?
I don't think so. I don't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, those are a little bit fancier oils. What about marjoram? You have marjoram?
Lots of marjoram and galbanum.
Yeah, why don't you go back and forth between the marjoram and the galbanum?
Okay,
The marjoram's not going to be the greatest for shock, but it is very toning to the parasympathetic nervous system, and it's very activating to the heart, and it's also very transmuting. And I think that could do it for you. Like I would still inhale it a bunch, put several drops on your skin, rub it in your neck and shoulder area, and then maybe even a couple drops internally, like in water.
for marjoram, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll order the tarragon and that the
No,
TEREBINTH.
the terebinth, yeah.
Yes, but the other one I wanted to ask you about, because I just
Mhm.
have a feeling about it, is the protective web. What is the deal with that? And I don't have
So-
any.
Yeah, so protective web, like there's kind of like the energetic explanation, and then there's like more of a physiological component. But the protective web is when you look at it from the energetic point of view, you have the surface of the chakra and it comes down like a funnel and goes all the way into the central channel that's like, let's just say to the spine, right? And so in between the surface and your body is this little like kind of denser part of the energy body that acts as like a filter that keeps things from the environment, parasitic energies, things like this from the environment from penetrating the energy body. Like, it doesn't completely keep them out, but it filters it out. It's a lot like a coffee filter, you could say. You pour water on it, it doesn't just pour right through. It eventually works its way through, but it's much slower. And so the protective web keeps things out. Like, so if somebody comes in and is super angry at you and they're like, ba, 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 saying all these things, they're also projecting a kind of energy. So to keep some of that energy from integrating into your spine, going up to the brain for you to process, the protective webs like tighten up to keep that energy from penetrating, right? So it still comes in, but it comes in slower and it does diminish some of it. So it tightens up and pushes that back. So what happens over a period of time is that energy will still get like stuck on the web. And so the other side of that is when it tenses up to keep energy out, the flip side of it is it also doesn't allow energies to like expel, right? So it's like, when your lungs are like got some mucus in it, like you can breathe, but you can't breathe as good as you normally, taking in air, and you can't exhale like you normally could. That can happen to the energy body. And so the protective web kind of cleans up that and then helps allow like negative energies to expel out, like how you would exhale. It's like giving your body's ability to energetically release or exhale negative energies. Now, like on a deeper level, those protective webs are actually tied to the nervous system and to your immune system a little bit and to the endocrine system, but also your connective tissue or your fascia. And so part of what happens when we're in situations where either people have projected a bunch at us or we've had like very like stress thinking or negative thinking, some of that like physicalizes into the body via the nervous system and mostly the nervous system. And the protective web blend was made to unwind some of those effects on your physical body. Like it just unwinds it. And so over a period of time, it will actually even like change like your postural alignments if you do it for long enough. It just allows you to unwind some of those like energetic cysts that are in the body, or how the nervous system has adapted or reacted to that stimuli or that input, then starts to manifest in postural alignments, and then eventually like how the organs are sitting and functioning. And so the protective web blend is just like a gentle way of unwinding the effects of all that.
Do you inhale that one, or does
You
it
can
go-
inhale it. You can take a salt bath with it. We also make like a body tonic, which is like a liniment, but
Would you
where,
that
you can apply it. If you wanted, we can make it into a lotion for you, like however you want to use it. But a lot of it is done topically or through inhalation.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
How about the frankincense and myrrh? Would those two, besides the tarragon and the terebinth, would they be the two, the other two really good ones for me to bring in right now?
I use the three wise men is what we use, which is a bunch of different kinds of frankincense and a couple kinds of myrrh. I use it all the time. Like on our road trip where I think we were on the road for like 8 days, maybe. I went through 10 mils of, like it's a big bottle, like of that. Like I ran out before we got home. And so, that was probably a little excessive, but, I was taking it internally. I was wearing it. I took a bath in it. And I mean, I was going for it. And I got to say, like the travel was, was difficult because it was the holiday time. And then, the issue with Southwest and the flights. And then we had to drive a couple of days. By the time we got home, I would feel like way more beat up than we did. And granted, I was still tired, but I shook it off pretty quick. And I would say, as I get older, that's not the normal. Like it was because of the three wise men. I mean, it was like all I was using for like probably a week.
Do you also inhale the three wise men as well, or more internal and wearing it in bath?
I do sometimes, but this trip, it was like on my wrist, in my bath, or taking it internal, like the whole time. Like I really didn't do a lot of inhalation except for when I was sitting down to write.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam, for getting me back in, you guys. I really appreciate it. I'll place my order this evening. Okay. Thank you. And I'm welcome home.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And then go ahead, Laura, then Susan.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. I have just started on Saxenda. Are you familiar with that?
What is it?
Saxenda, it's with Wegovy and different things it's a diabetes 1, but they're giving it to people that I think I was given it because I have been so resistant to any weight loss, and my hormones
Like
and
Ozempic, right?
and my cortisol levels and everything have been so wacko that they're trying to see if they can redo my gut to handle it. And I'm doing fine. I'm on week 3, and you start with very small doses. It's a shot into your belly every day.
Right.
And it starts with 0.6, then it goes to 1.2, 1.8 till you get to 3. So I'm really still at a very low level, but my side effects don't even show on the side effects. There are times that I'm incredibly sleepy, and then other times I've got great energy. But when I am sleepy, man, it just puts me out in the middle of the day. I also, I'm not hungry. And then when I'm hungry, I suddenly have headache, nausea, and I have to eat immediately. I've got weird little things going on, and just kind of feeling overall kind of odd and not up to par. And I was listening to you when you were describing this stuff with the three wise men and the endocrine system. Is that where you would go to start seeing if that would help my response?
I mean, it would be one of the things that I would explore, but like that sounds like it's very similar. Like I haven't read anything on this medication. I think it's a new one, but the Ozempic is the one that I was familiar with.
Yes,
which is like a once a week thing that versus the daily thing, and same idea. And so, I mean, that is the thing, like all of a sudden you'll be fine and then boom, like you just like, I have to go to bed. Like, it can be very tiring, and there's potential for cramping, stomach upset, nausea. I would actually treat that probably with tarragon, like tarragon, rosemary, verbena. I like tarragon a little bit more because some of what you're describing is disturbances in the parasympathetic nervous system. And so, like, you could say, even though you're shifting things around, it causes like a stress response, but in the gut. And so like things that clean up stress in the gut are rosemary, verbena, anise, tarragon, galbanum somewhat. Those would be the big ones that I would use. Like I'm trying to reach for something else and it's.
So would you do I've got plenty of tarragon. Would you do the tarragon 3 drops once a day, twice a day? What would you do?
I would do it 2 to 3 times a day. I would do 3
Okay.
drops probably 2 to 3 times a day. And the fatigue part, where you're doing fine, all of a sudden, boom. I mean, that's a hard one to treat.
And I'm really okay with that because at the moment I don't have so much on my plate that needs to be done. And I'm willing to try this to see if this is going to help shift my body.
Yeah, the thing that I would say is you could try just taking like a little bit of a power nap, like 15-minute nap, like when that hits you. And, it might end up turning into a half hour, an hour, and you might be able to sleep that off. But it is messing with the parasympathetic component. And so, because parasympathetic is also rest and repair or it's also tied to like eating, like rest, repair, eat, or like they would say feed, like you would feed. And so tarragon, and then if it's still needed a little bit, like you could do the anise, you could support it with the marjoram, like on the body itself, like even rubbing it in on the gut. That should undo a lot of the nausea and the discomfort that can happen down in the gut. Like there's potential for cramping and things like that. The fatigue part, I mean, it's still a little bit of the nervous system, and it could still be a little bit of what it's doing to the blood sugar. And so, like, if I understand that medication right, if I'm not familiar with this one, but Ozempic, which I think it's like a different form of Ozempic.
It's very similar.
Yeah, it's like at some point it just like makes your body like dump sugar, and your body's probably hitting that like fatigue part when the sugar's being dumped. And so best thing to do is just like, if you can, just rest for a few minutes and then try to let that pass.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you very
it's not
much.
necessarily like making your blood sugar drop or anything like that. Like not acutely, like it's more doing it long term, but it's doing something where it's like how your body's processing it, where it just does these dumps sometime. And in that phase where it's doing the dump, you are going to hit like these fatigue pieces. So yeah, keep me posted on that. I was actually just reading a little tiny bit on it today, that one medication that you mentioned, but I didn't have time to read it. So I was like, oh, I got to read about this later. And then, here we are talking about it. But it looks like it's a pretty new med on the market. Like Ozempic was the first one, I think.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Susan, then Chris.
Hey, Susan.
Hey, Happy New Year. How are you?
Hey, Happy New Year.
I'm old because I remember pycnogenol and grapeseed oil.
I know.
It was a thing. It
was so a thing.
It was so a thing. My mom was convinced it was gonna solve all the world crises. But anyway, after years of trying to figure out what was going on with my hip, leg, Caitlin Longoria, who's just started taking classes, figured out that it's like a frozen shoulder, but it's in the hip and near the groin. So we're doing some exercises, and we love your oils. And so I'm breathing oils while I'm doing the exercises. And I've been, just picking oils, but I'm thinking, well, I should ask Greg. I've been using milfoil and cypress wood a lot, but is there something else that would help as I do these exercises that, that's really breaking apart this frozen tissue?
Right. So a lot of times when that is happening, it's the hip is a little bit compromised, like the socket.
Mhm.
And so you want to reduce spasms, and then you want to increase blood flow to the area. Like any time that a joint is compromised, the tissue will tighten up, like you said, like a frozen shoulder or a stiff shoulder. And so you can use, that joint relief blend.
Which I have been, yes.
Yeah. So like apply that to the whole like hip, like the butt cheek, the side of the hip, the front of the leg a little bit, just kind of rub it all into that area. So there you have an antispasmodic effect, and you're increasing blood flow to the joint and to the muscles, and then helping to move blood away from there. So you want to get it in, and then you want to get it out, and you don't want it to linger too much.
Okay.
Right. And so because that becomes like inflammation or just swelling. And so that should be helpful. Milfoil is a pretty good choice for that. Like you inhaling, you can actually even put it on topically, but the milfoil should help with the pain levels, especially if there's pain with movement or something like that.
The
But,
exercises, whoa, baby, they hurt because
yeah,
they're supposed to.
physical therapy is not to make you feel better in the moment. It's to make you feel better long term.
Exactly.
And so my physical therapist back in the old days used to remind me that every time I saw him. He's like, my job's not to make you feel good now, it's to make you feel good next week. And
Yeah.
so, he was very good at making me not feel good when I would go.
I'm with you, but I
yeah.
do my exercises,
Yeah.
and
Good.
I'm breathing my oil while I do it, and I breathe it into the area, and I just thought, okay, and I have been using the joint relief blend. I'm going to use it more liberally, though. I haven't been
It needs to
using.
be daily, like it.
Well, and
daily.
it is daily, but I've been using
Good.
it mostly in the hip minor chakra and in the actual in the groin area, but now I will spread it more liberally over.
Yeah.
everything.
Get the like, especially like when you're doing the butt cheek, like
Yeah.
more like the lower part of the butt cheek.
Okay.
Like
Got
as you like if you like kind of poke on your butt cheek and you keep going down, like down closer to like the crease where it hits the leg,
Yes.
like up from there is a bunch of these little tiny rotator muscles, and that's actually what you're targeting more than the whole like butt cheek itself. You're trying to get into those little lateral rotators, and so the closer you can get it on in that area, the better. Yeah.
Fabulous. This is so wow, this is so helpful. Thank you. I'm going to.
Like as I think that out, like if you lay on your side, and then bring your knee up like you're bringing it like to your chest, but you stop at like a 90-degree angle. So
Yep.
like it's going straight out. So your leg is bent, right?
Got it.
Take the ointment and then rub it on the lower part of the butt cheek then. And that's your best way to access that.
Okay. I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really good about putting it on every day though. I use it
Oh,
after
good.
I shower. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I'm a fan. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
I'm just sitting here breathing my Terrabin and 3 Weissman while I'm listening to you chat. So
Perfect.
thank you. Okay. Bye.
Take care.
And go ahead, Chris, then Robin.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, Greg. Hey, we're counting down the days.
Yeah, you're gonna be out there what in about 10 days.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I think this is a quick question, but remember when I got COVID and I had all that nose and chest congestion?
Yeah.
So I did the saline rinse, and one time I kind of blocked my ears, and I was wondering if you can take a look. Sometimes my ears, it doesn't really hurt, but it bothers me.
So
I'm
what were
not
you
sure.
doing?
I did the saline rinse.
Oh, the saline in the nose.
and
Okay,
it
gotcha.
went out the wrong way, almost like plugged my ears. And since then, I'd have this thing come up in my ear. Like, it's not a pain, but it's a discomfort. I tried to put like swab it with what do you call this? Bay laurel, just in case there was like a mild
It looks inflamed.
infection.
Yeah, it looks
Is it
inflamed.
flame?
Yeah.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Okay, so you were like the inside. Give me just a second. I'm just processing this for a second.
Okay, thank you.
Let me lift something up here. Okay. Do you have Neoli?
Yes.
Let's have you inhale Neoli and take some Neoli with maybe a little bit of lotion or like massage oil or something, and put like 6-8 drops in with just a little tiny bit of the Neoli, rub it together, and then rub it around your ears and around the jaw, not in the ear, but like just all around.
Okay.
And then take probably 4 to 6 drops of lemon oil internally, like 2 to 3 times a day.
Got
And it should, like within 48 hours or so, it should reduce it. Like it probably will be sooner, but I'd say on the safe side, within 48 hours.
Thank you so much. So
Yeah.
do you think it's infected or just
It looks inflamed to me. It looks really inflamed.
really?
Yeah.
Like with
I mean, that
mucus?
can happen though. Like it can happen with like a sinus issue. It can happen with
Oh,
colds and flus. It can happen with allergies. It happens a lot with allergies. I mean, with it being inflamed for a long period of time, an infection can happen, but sometimes they just get super inflamed. And so
okay.
do the combination and it should knock it out.
Perfect. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. I'm glad I
yeah.
asked. Thank you.
You're so
See you soon.
Yeah, see you in about 10 days.
Yes.
And then go ahead, Robin.
Hey, Miss Robin.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
Well, I'm good, except I'm good. We're rocking the human design thing. That's just great.
Yeah.
But this morning, mid-morning, I just suddenly got this grab in my right cheek, butt, and I've got this sciatic. I've got some kind of thing that I can barely walk and barely sit. I'm just in excruciating pain on my right side, in my sacrum, butt cheek. Just there's this big grab or something. Not sure what happened.
Is it radiating down the leg or is it just in the butt cheek itself?
Not going down the leg, no.
Okay. And sharp pain or like a toothache or?
It's both. It's just right now it's a dull ache, but if I go to stand or walk or move my body, it hits a sharp.
When you're sitting in a chair, is it hard to like find a spot that's comfortable? Do you feel like you keep fidgeting?
Yes.
So that is a piriformis issue. Like anytime like you're sitting in a chair and it's just like I can't get comfortable, like you keep trying to find that perfect spot, That's the piriformis, which is this big muscle that, well, it's not big, but it's a muscle that kind of goes across the middle of the butt cheek, but it passes over the sciatic nerve. And when it tightens, it pushes up against the sciatic nerve and pushes the sciatic nerve up against a bone in the pelvis, because the sciatic nerve is passing through a hole in the pelvis right there. And so when it tightens, it pushes up against the sciatic nerve and then pushes the nerve up against the bone. And so it's actually referred to as piriformis syndrome. And so it sounds like if you're not sitting, it sounds like it's achy, but it's not like debilitating. So like anytime you have something like this, you don't want to poke on it too much, because it's already like that nerve is already irritated. And so like massaging on it or sitting on a tennis ball will actually like aggravate it more. And so you want to reduce any sort of irritation. So you can put a little ice on it just to reduce some of the inflammation, but you want to look at oils that are like marjoram or the pain relief neuropathic or peppermint, something with like mint in it, like spearmint, peppermint, corn mint, anything like that. You can put in a little bit of lotion and rub on it, will have an antispasmodic effect and a pain relieving effect. And you just basically kind of have to keep unwinding that spasm and the pain for just a little bit. Like sometimes it can be quite chronic, but if you just had it happen, you just got to unwind it for a little bit and usually will be fine. And so if it's not feeling too much better, like within a couple of weeks, I would say, we'll keep treating it, but like in a couple of weeks, if it still feels like it's a little bit of an issue, the sciatic nerve is one of the few nerves in the body that has immune cells on it. And after like 2 to 3 weeks, you actually will start to have an aggravation in the allergic response. And so I would say if it's still there in a couple of weeks, we need to start doing things to calm down the allergic response so that you don't get allergies on top of it and make it worse. Treating allergies doesn't make it better, but you're wanting to undo the effects of the sciatic issue on the immune system. And so this is probably something that you can knock out kind of quickly, but do something antispasmodic like marjoram, basil, petitgrain, vetiver, spikenard, any of those, like rub it on the spot, do it multiple times in a day. And for just pain relief, anything with mint or the pain relief neuropathic, birch complex would actually even work as well. Wintergreen is another choice for antispasmodic as well. And like monitor that if it starts going down the leg or down the front of your shin, or you're starting to feel it in your foot, it means it's progressed a little bit. And you just got to keep unwinding it. But I would, like when you're sitting and doing things, I would get up and move around more often than normal. Like even if you can do some of your typing, even like laying down with your legs straight might even be a little bit better for a day or two. But it's kind of hard to write like when you're doing that. So sitting at the chair, maybe every 30, 45 minutes, just get up and move around a little bit, just so that's not always in that one position and starting to cramp.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that the first time that's ever happened to you?
Yeah, like this. I've had sciatica before, but I haven't had this where it just like, oh my gosh, I can't. It's just like that side has just grabbed.
Yeah, the piriformis it's a weird thing. Like it can get irritated, which with like little to no like stimuli. Like it could just be like normal wear and tear. But like one of the things that you would do as like a therapist is you would evaluate like how people's feet, like the more that they rotate out or rotate in, it's usually more outward. starts to tell you like what is happening with some of the rotators and in the hips. And so there starts to be sometimes a potential like imbalance. And it starts to rotate the leg a little bit, and then that actually can throw the piriformis off. But if you haven't really had this problem before, it's what I would consider like more of an acute kind of condition. And so a lot of times if you just treat it like as spasms and things like that, a lot of times it'll just unwind.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
but don't sit on something to, because like that's like on any other part of your body, you go, oh, I have tension or tightness, and like you do a little compression with like a tennis ball or those foam rollers. It can be helpful. On this, it actually will make it worse. And so it's one of those ones where all those other things, you throw those out for a piriformis issue. And you can do like, usually ice makes it feel a little bit better. I mean, it doesn't resolve it, but it just can calm things down a little bit. But a lot of times just antispasmodics and then resting it or letting the leg be straight for periods of time. And then are you a side sleeper, a back sleeper, a stomach sleeper?
Side.
When you're sleeping, do you spend more time on the side that's bothering you, like down, or is it that side up?
I kind of rotate back and forth.
Probably try not to lay on that side very much. And the reason being there's this there's a name for this syndrome and I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically there's a ligament that goes between the pelvis and the head of the femur. And sometimes, I mean, you can play with it. It might be that when it's up in the air or down on the bed, like pay attention, like, does it ache a little bit more in any of those positions? Because what happens is like sometimes the leg, like it goes too far down and it starts to stretch this ligament, and then it actually will throw the piriformis in a spasm. And so in extreme cases, the person would sometimes have to lay on their back. But a lot of times if it's when it's up, if you just prop up with a pillow, or sometimes it's when it's in the bed, and be it that the bed is soft or who knows, like if it's that way when it's a little bit more aggravating or achy when it's that side down, then just avoid that for just like a few days. Like it's not forever. It's just, it's that ligament is slow to like repair. And it's not that it's torn or irritated. It's just like how you would get tendonitis. You can get like a version of that, but in a ligament. And when you do that, it stops holding. Like ligaments are bone to bone, and they keep you from overextending the joint, right? And so they really don't do any of the muscle movement. They just limit the range of motion so you don't hurt yourself. Like this joint only moves so far, like it only does these motions, right? And so it's a way of protecting that joint. And so when they get irritated, sometimes what happens is you're able to go a little bit past what is normal because the inflammation makes that ligament lose tone. And so then all of a sudden you're going past that point, and now it's starting to irritate some of those muscles. So it could be that even that's in play, but even that with just a little bit of rest usually goes away.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing big to do other than just some anti-inflammatories, rest, a little bit of ice, and it usually will go away.
Terrific. Thank
Yeah.
you.
But if it doesn't, like within a couple of days, if you're not finding relief, like let me know. Like,
Okay.
I think we are talking on Thursday, so let me know by Thursday.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
You're so
Appreciate it.
welcome.
And then for you guys here for the deeper practice, stay put. I just have this question and then we're rolling into that. Someone's asking, is there a protocol for removing plaque from blood vessels?
Complicated. Yeah, Lovage potentially could do that. I mean, it depends on how bad it is. I mean, always reducing cholesterol and things like that. But the issue is that sometimes the plaque is forming because the vessels are starting to become a little bit brittle. So what I usually have people do is use Lovage to help try to clean some of those deposits out, and then also use lemon to help make the vessels a little bit more supple. The other thing that you could also do for the quality of the vessels is quercetin. Like for that, probably 2 capsules twice a day would be good for protecting the veins.
And the application for the Lovage and lemon?
Oh, both of those have to be internal. Yeah. There's no way around that one. Yeah, there is, like, I've used this, there's this herb called Sanicle that I've used. It kind of works. I think Lovage works substantially better for that. And so Sanicle is a little bit better for cleaning up mucus rather than just plaque. Lovage is good for reducing the plaque. And so, I mean, it depends on the person. It's not like it's a for sure thing, but it is helpful for that. I mean, I've had people where we were able to, with medical tests, they could see that the plaque had gone down. But I mean, it didn't go away, it just went down. But
Cool, thank you. Great questions, guys. And now?
so what I'd like to do for tonight, since it is the beginning of the new year, is step away from the immunity. We'll pick back up with that next week, but let's do a little bit of materialization process. And we're not going to go through and do all the steps before and after. We're just going to really focus on the materialization breath. And so oils that you could choose, hyssop, rue, cinnamon, some of the fancier oils like tuberose or aloes, rose, lotus would be good. What else? Abramelon is very good for this. If you don't have one of those, let us know, but I think those are some good choices. Obviously, prosperity blend, materialization blend, galbanum, if you don't have any of those things. So find your oils, and then we'll do the process. Everybody looks good. Okay, so first step is you're going to visualize your goal, whatever your goal is for the year. Now, when we say materialization, we're talking about the materialization of light, right? So think of it as you're adding fuel or essence to the thing that you're thinking about. The thing is the structure, like the goal, the even if it's healing your body or whatever it is. And by going through and doing this process, you're physicalizing light into wherever you're directing it, right? So contemplate your goal. It doesn't have to be details like you're going to go and start a to-do list. You're just thinking of the end result. If you're not sure, just think of the situation, because the light will start to unwind what's being put forward. Okay, you're still, your eyes are closed, you're thinking of your goal, and your awareness is on the center of your chest. What is that? Yeah, it's got a lot of that in. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to take your bottle and you're going to hold it to your chest. And this is just so you can get the breath down, right? So we're just watch me for a second. This is how you do it. Your head is down like so. And then you're going to take a long, slow, deep breath and then hold your breath. So, and then you're going to move your head up and then exhale and then down, inhale, up, exhale, and then down, and then inhale. Hold your breath, up, exhale. So whenever you do this, you want to do it at least 4 times. So as soon as you start to do the inhalation and moving your head, you can let go of the visualization. The visualization kind of sets the pattern. And then your bottle to your chest, your chin down, inhale, hold your breath, move your head up, exhale, head down, inhale, up, exhale, 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 and then just be still. Just maintain your stillness and think of the same goal, the same target, the same issue, whatever that might be. As you think about it, your awareness is on the heart. Let the imagery go. Bottle to your chest, chin down. Inhale, head up, exhale. Down, inhale, 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 up, exhale. Just be still. Keep your eyes closed. Your awareness is on your heart as you're reflecting on the same goal. You're still thinking of the same goal. You're still thinking of the same goal. Let the imagery go. Bottle to your chest, chin down. Inhale. Hold your breath. Head up. Exhale. Down. Inhale. 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 Up. Exhale. Just be still. Just let that imagery go. Let's focus on another goal. It could be a relationship, it could be healing, it could be something that you're going through, some situation. If there's some that's unresolved, something at work or some little project or goal that you have going, just contemplate it. You don't have to resolve it. Just put your attention on the goal. You're thinking of that goal. Let the imagery go. Bottle to your chest. Chin down. Hold your breath. Up. Exhale. Do 7 or 8 on your own. And then just be still. Think of your goal. Let the imagery go. What I'd like you to do, we're going to do a slight variation. Now check in with your body. Where is there tension or a clamping down happening in your body? Just start exploring your body, the spine, the back, the hips, the legs. Where do you feel something? The breath. Wherever you feel it, put your attention there and just be still. You're not trying to fix it. You're not trying to do anything. You're just putting your attention there. Hold the goal in your heart again. Let go of your body. Contemplate the goal. Your awareness is on your heart. Bottle to your chest, chin down. Inhale slowly. Hold your breath. Head up. Exhale. Inhale. Hold your breath. Exhale. Down. Inhale. Up. Exhale. Down. Inhale. Up. Exhale. down, inhale, up, exhale. Do 3 or 4 more. Think of your goal. Your awareness is on your heart. Let go of the imagery. Check in with your body. Where do you feel tension? Where do you feel something? Does the spine feel stiff? The shoulders, the back, the breath, the diaphragm. Wherever you feel it, just keep your awareness on that spot and just be present with it. Let the imagery go. Bottle to your chest, chin down. Inhale, move your head up. Exhale, down. Inhale, hold your breath. Up, exhale, down, up, exhale. Do about 5 or 6 more. And then just be still. Just be still. Your awareness is on your back heart. Inhale the oil that you're using with your awareness on your back heart, the area between your shoulder blades. And then just be still. Just be still. Keep your eyes closed. Just be still. And let's do one that's not just about ordinary life, or think of the deity or spiritual teacher in your tradition or that you have an affiliation with. So Christ, the Buddha, Rama, the Buddha Miling, Kutumi. Think of that being. And as you contemplate that being, hold them in your heart. Let the imagery go. Bottle to your chest, chin down. Inhale, hold your breath, head up, exhale. Do about 7 or 8 more. And then just be still. Check in with your body. Where do you feel it in your body? Think of somebody you know who is in need, who's having a difficult time, who has a physical or just has a health issue, or they're going through a hard time emotionally, mentally, financially, whatever it might be. Reflect on them and hold them in your heart. Let the imagery go. Bottle to your chest, chin down. Inhale, hold your breath, head up, exhale. Down, inhale. Up, exhale. Down, inhale. Up, exhale. Do about 7 or 8 more. You guys, we're going to switch over to the prayer blessing for Astara. You can join us if you'd like. We are on for tomorrow night for both the practice with Astara and then the Metatron. And then this weekend we do the basic chakra, which is the Kundalini. What's the name of the class? Kundalini
And the inner light.
and the inner light on this weekend, which I think is a review for most of you. And so hopefully I'll see you either tomorrow night or on the weekend. Happy New Year. Take care, you guys.